Hey, welcome to the show. My name's Ed Rush, five-time #1 best-selling author, your host for the most positive place on the planet for insanely implementable ideas. Today is my favorite day of the week. We're going to be doing some open Q&A in a moment, but before we do that, we're going to talk about how you think, because how you think not only controls how much you make, how much time off you have, how you feel, but it also controls the way the world thinks too. EdTalks Live is next. All right, so I just made a somewhat shocking statement just before the bumper jumped in. I said, the way you think controls the way the world thinks, or the way the world moves. You're like, wait a second, Ed, the way I think, yes. The way you think. Societies are moved by the virus memes that move throughout people's brains. And I'm here to tell you that our culture right now is in fast react mode. I am talking about idea after idea after idea. And I don't know about you, but if you read the news, I just took a news fast for the last 7 days. I came back yesterday. My goodness. And if you read the news, it's almost maddening trying to figure out exactly what to think about what's going on in the world. So let me give you an idea about how to formulate your thoughts. Let me start by saying this. Almost always, the first reaction is the wrong reaction. In fact, almost always, the first reaction is an immature reaction. Here's what I mean by this. We live in a kindergarten world. Now, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about everybody, maybe except you, okay? We live in a kindergarten world. Here's what kindergartners do. When you hang out with kindergartners, here's how easy it is in kindergarten. You have good and bad. You have our little kindergarten classroom. This is where you stay in your nice little comfortable zone, but don't you leave the classroom. Don't you leave the classroom. See, that's bad. When you present a superhero to a kindergartner, for example, like in kindergarten is when I first learned about Superman. You know, the Superman movies were starting to come out. As I learned about Superman, when I learned about Superman, I learned about good. Superman was good. There was no taint in Superman. His only flaw was, when he got around kryptonite, he had a little bit of a problem with his strength. Okay, so that was Superman. But you know what? There was another character whose name was Lex Luthor. And Lex Luthor, see, he was bad. There was no good in his character. There was only evil and only bad. And when you live in a kindergarten world, life is easy. You just filter everything through your kindergarten filter, and you like, this is good, and this is bad, and this is good, and this is bad. Well, the truth is, we live in a complicated, complex world. So, let me present you with a thought. We are being forced as a culture to decide one of two things, and both are wrong, okay? So, some folks in our culture are forcing us to say all police are bad. And some people in our culture are forcing us to say all police are good. And I can tell you, neither one of those is right. Look, let's face it. We have untrained, in certain cases, immature people, emotionally immature people on the police force with bad intentions. For some reason, that tends to attract people with maybe a disproportionate amount of people with bad intentions. But at the same time, some of the most amazing, heart-centered people that I know are police officers who simply just want to serve their community. And if we live in a black and white world where one is good and one is bad, you can't make sense of that. You can't make sense of how a racist, evil-minded police officer can coexist in the same universe with a police officer who cares about his people. And I will tell you that this kindergarten thinking will be the death of our culture. I'm going to give you an example in just a second, but before I do that, I just want to welcome you to the show. Some of you just joined me and you're like, whoa, what? is Ed talking about? Okay, today's open Q&A. All right, but I'm gonna just share a couple ideas about what's happening right now in society, and then we're gonna get to your questions. And by the way, if you haven't already jumped in and chat, that's over here on the left hand, on your right hand side. I do want to say hello. What's up, Barry? Good to see you, Dennis. I'm gonna go back to this point in just a second, but I want to say hello to you. What's up, Wendell Bugs? Good to see you as well. Jim, you all are like the first four to always show up every single day. Dennis and Barry, you're like first. And then right behind you, Diana, what's going on? Good to see you. It's so good to see you as well. He's working on lunch. What's up? Rob Jones, thanks for your email yesterday, dude. Hey, by the way, I had a coaching day yesterday with my man, David Zetz. He said some of the most productive 5.5 hours of my life, just saying, ready to rock. Let me see if I can find that picture of me and you. It's on my Instagram page. Hang on. If I could type right, I can pull this up. Hang on a second. Let's see. Here we go. Check it out, ladies and gentlemen. This is my man, David Zetz right here. So he and I did, there we are right there, San Diego Country Club. That's the 10th fairway right there, 10th greens down here near this tree. There's the tee box. There's David Zetz. That's me. That's us about halfway through our day today. There he is right there. Look at that, man. Oh, that's great. All right, so thank you, David Zetz. I appreciate you, man. This dude, let me tell you what, man. My man's going to make a lot of money and change a lot of people's lives. He's going to have about 100 new clients. Mark my words, in the next 5 months, he's going to have about 100 new clients. Oh, you got the journal. I love it. So you got the Big Pivot journal. By the way, if you're registered for Big Pivot, you got your journal in the mail this week. Love it. Okay. By the way, Dr. Ed Barry is a scientist. He says a logical error to conclude a specific case. That's great. That's great right there. Good to see you, Rick, too. Replied to your email this morning. Hopefully you're doing awesome. All right, so let's go back to, hang on, I want to pull this other website up. Let's go back to this concept about good and evil. And I want to read you, I'm actually going to read this post, okay? It's a little bit of a longer post, but I'm going to read a post to you, but I'm going to show you the picture first, okay? So this is on Facebook right now, and let me tell you, this post, I want to show you the picture, but this post, first I want to show you the response. Look at that, 36,000 comments, 161,000 likes, and 103,000 shares. And by the way, this was reposted from the Illinois State Police. Okay, so I want you to look at this picture. I want you to just take a moment to look at this picture. Now, just let it sink in for a moment. I want you to look at this man right here. See him out here next to his grill, right? Cooking some food for his family, the same kind of food that you would cook for your family. In fact, last night, Rush family, we had burgers and potatoes, okay? Same kind of food he's cooking for his family. I want you to see him in uniform. Good looking uniform, right? Fits well, good cut, dude's in good shape. Looks the part. He's looking at you like he's ready to protect and serve. Now I want to read this post, and I'm gonna read the whole thing, okay? And this is written by Amy Bailey Seals. She says, "This is Dwayne, my husband. He loves to grill and smoke meat, play video games with his friends, take good care of his grass like his newborn. He has 2 amazing kids, K and C, and an amazing wife. I'm not biased. Dwayne is a 6-time record-holding college athlete and has an amazing way of reeling people in with infectious personality, which I'm pretty sure is how he got me to stick around. He tells bad jokes, sings to our cats, and I. He loves dancing and just about every beat that comes on to make me laugh. Dwayne loves his job. He's able to make connections in the community utilizing his own story of the come up to influence, and show more people that you don't have to be a statistic, you can be so much more. He's been dubbed officer friendly by many, and people have told me they can see him from across I-94 just by his smile. His current role in ISP gives him a unique opportunity to utilize his amazing personality to connect with people from all walks of life in our community, this Illinois State Police, and to make a difference." Now, listen to this next part. Yesterday, people who have no idea who Dwayne is told them they hated him. They hoped he dies. His family dies. They told him he was a traitor, and they called him every name in the book. They threw things at him, kicked him, and punched him. Yet, my amazing husband came home to me yesterday exhausted, but still the same old Dwayne. You guys who know him know exactly what I'm talking about. He told me, babe, they just don't know me. I held on to that the whole time. Sometimes I feel like my husband is too good for this world. Now listen to what she says. This is very powerful. What happened in Minneapolis is a senseless and terrible tragedy. We're disgusted by it. No cop wants this. If I had one wish, it would be that before you hate my husband, you realize the amount of good he is doing for the community and how much he cares about the citizens of Illinois and how seriously he takes that oath. Beyond that, he's not just a badge, he's a human, a husband, a father, a son, a brother, and a friend. I'll let that sink in for just a second. I mean, I want you to just let that settle in for a moment. He's a human. He's a human. Jessica, Dwayne's wife, said he's a human. Now, do humans have flaws? Yeah. You know what? Humans have flaws. You try to go 24 hours without making a mistake. It's not going to happen. In fact, if I was to take a video camera or a video, somebody was to take a video of every moment of your life, every thought, every joke that you told that you wish you didn't tell, everything that you said, everything that you did, and we put your video up on a screen for everyone to watch, much like my story, you would probably be ashamed too. And that goes for everyone. I'm talking about social justice crusaders. I'm talking about everyone. We live in a flawed, failing world. Thank God. Thank God for redemption. Thank God for forgiveness. Thank God for community. Thank God for repentance. Thank God for people saying, I was wrong. Now, we live in a world with two fundamental flaws. I mentioned the first one. The first one is kindergarten thinking. Black and white, him good guy, him bad guy, him good guy, him bad. That doesn't work like that anymore, okay? If you are a hard left liberal and you filter all of your thoughts through what the liberal talking points are, you're wrong. You're going to be wrong every time. If you're a hard right Republican and you filter everything through the talking points that are regurgitated back to you, you're going to be wrong almost every single time, because those two poles represent the kindergarten thinking that's affecting our world. The second problem affecting our world is the fact that we've failed to understand the human journey. Listen, people make mistakes. You did some dumb stuff in college. So did I, okay? And there's probably some dumb stuff you did just 2 weeks ago. The fact that we as a culture are willing to go back, think about this. Just the other day, people went back 8 years in the White House press secretary's social media post. She made a nice comment in 2012 about Domino's Pizza. And there are idiots, and I don't even use that word lightly, in the world who are now saying you should boycott Domino's Pizza because they got a nice compliment from the person who happens to be the White House press secretary. That's kindergarten thinking. Now, if you don't want to eat Domino's because the ingredients are bad, or because it's got gluten in it, or because it's probably horrible for your body, then don't eat Domino's because of that reason, okay? But don't not eat Domino's because you've been regurgitated something on one side. If you think a TV station is bad, don't tell somebody not to wear a t-shirt, because it's their right to wear a t-shirt. And I'm looking at you right now to tell you that we in our culture have a chance to turn things around. But to turn things around, our world needs to stop embracing the kindergarten world that we're in and start embracing the complexity of human life. Do you know it's possible that on the same police force, there could be awful, racist people and really good people like Dwayne? And you know, it's even possible that those two people could coexist in the same police precinct. You know, it's actually even possible that those two people could actually spend time in the same briefing every single day. That awful racist person and that wonderful person that you just heard about named Dwayne. And you know what's even interesting? It's even possible for that awful racist police officer who sits next to Dwayne in that briefing every single day to become friends with Dwayne and then all of a sudden go, you know what? I think I was wrong this entire time. And you know, it's possible for that awful police officer to become a good, heart-centered, and loving person in a world where there's forgiveness and in a world where there's redemption. So, number one, avoid kindergarten thinking. The world isn't as black and white as you think it is. Number two, embrace the idea that people can change and people can be redeemed. All right? So, I was like a monologue. I didn't even plan on that. I'm not kidding you. 3 minutes before the show started, Ricky Breslin sent me this Facebook post. And I said, hey, dude, I'm going to be reading that on the show. And everything else just came out, okay? So that was not, that just came out, all right? So look, if I messed it up, and I offended you, if I messed it up and I offended you, rewind, okay? And go back to the part where I said that I'm flawed. All right, so, before today's open Q&A, by the way, and I'm gonna just shift gears and just say, I know you're all like, wait, am I allowed to ask questions now? Yes, in fact, you're also allowed to share your ideas and your opinion. I would love to hear from you. Today's open Q&A, normally we do this on Friday. We're gonna do Focus Friday today too. That's because tomorrow's show, I'm bringing in one of my favorite people in the whole wide world, Marquetta Breslin. She's gonna be teaching how to grow, engage, inspire on social media. This is the beginning of a discussion that's gonna last us into Big Pivot. Next week, I have 3 instructors in Big Pivot. I'm one of them. Jonathan Sprinkles is the second one. Marquetta Breslin is the third. Together, we're going to be showing you how to pivot and take advantage of the great new economy or the great new expert economy that's coming your way. That's next week. If you're not registered, the website is below. BigPivotEvent.com. All right, now I'm going to go to your questions in chat. So I love that, dude. Dr. Ed says, your presentation is so good that I believe you got an A. The joke there for if you just joining us, I failed kindergarten, so that's the joke right there. By the way, I am going to be taking your questions. Throw them into chat if you have any questions about anything. The other thing that I'm going to start doing on these open Q&As is you're welcome to put your website in chat for website review, and I'm happy to do a review of your website if you want me to look at it. Side benefit: everybody gets to see your website. Okay, so let me just say. Let me just react to a couple of comments that are in chat. Hello, Salik. Good to see you as well. Welcome to the show. All right, let me see. Yeah, so, you know, it's interesting, Robert. So he said, what happened to mercy for those who are truly sorry with evidence of contrition? So I was on Marquetta's show 2 weeks ago. We were talking about race. And I said on the show, I said, you know, I can remember times where I heard someone tell a joke. And I'm not big on racist, I never have been, but I have been around people who told jokes that were racially charged jokes. And I can remember vividly certain times where people would say those things and you just let it go. You don't say, hey, like, I don't do that, okay? And I was saying, even those moments, I feel sorry for those moments where I let things go. But you know, if we don't live in a world with mercy or change or contrition, well, you're still liable for all that stuff, man, and now you're a racist. You know what I mean? Like we live in a world where people change, and that's actually such a great thing. And so it's interesting, Robert, my church here in San Diego, the last church that I went to here in San Diego, we had a big community of former inmates, prison ministry folks that were actually out of prison. They were Christians, but they were still on parole. So they were in San Diego. Most of them were living in the same community, in a parole community. And dude, these guys, they would all sit like in the second row, right over here on the right. First of all, these guys were some of the most passionate, the songs and stuff. I mean, dudes be like commenting back to the pastor as he's preaching. They were in it. And I thought, you know, it's a beautiful thing. In our culture, when somebody has come out of prison, we do really treat them with the respect of someone who is making an attempt to rehabilitate their life. But if you say something stupid on social media 12 years ago and you didn't go to prison, our culture will treat you like an ass for the rest of your life. And we've got this weird cancel culture thing going on, which is completely devoid of mercy. Listen, if somebody's awful and they're like a racist and they're still that way, yeah, you know what? They probably shouldn't be making movies. But if somebody said something horrible 12 years ago and is truly repentant of that, and now the pendulum, by the way, Americans' biggest, Americans, not biggest error, but one of our biggest errors in the United States is we overreact to everything. And part of that, believe it or not, has to do with geography. We're so separated from the entire world and we live in such a cushy place and we have really no enemies, frankly, anywhere close to us. So that when anything happens, it's like it disrupts our beautiful utopia and we freak out. So yeah, Americans are overreactors by nature, which is why when we discover that our police force has a person who's racist, literally the entirety of America is like, that's it, get rid of the police. Okay, so right now, gosh, I can't believe I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna say it. All right, I'll get into this really quickly. Right now in Seattle, there's this new autonomous zone that's building from the ground up, and there's two hysterical things about this, by the way. I know it's not supposed to be funny, but ironically hysterical. So it's a bunch of protesters who decided to take like 6 blocks and turn it into their own nation, which, by the way, that's totally fine. If you want to have a revolution, have a revolution. We had one back in 1776. If you want to try a social experiment, go for it. You know, I've seen so many social media posts where people are like, Chaz, man, everybody's sharing things and they're all helping each other out and it's beautiful. And look, I'm with you. If you want to build a new community and you want to try a social experiment, you give it a shot. Now, 2 things though that has to happen. Number 1, just remember, these are all people who for the last 4 years have been saying why walls are a really bad thing, okay? So there shouldn't be walls, we shouldn't build walls, walls are bad, and the first thing they did when they built their little 6 blocks is they built walls. I think that's hysterical, okay? The second thing is if you're going to test a social experiment, it needs to be in a closed system, all right? Because right now, everybody's sending them food, hey, look, I would do great right here at my house if people just sent me food all day long and resources. I wouldn't have to work, everything would be fine. Okay, so if you want to try your little social experiment up in Seattle, you do it in a closed system. Don't tell me how great it's working if people keep throwing stuff to you over the fence. All right, we're gonna get to your questions, by the way. I don't know why. We're like halfway through the show. We haven't even gotten to the first question. So I want to get to your business questions. By the way, you're welcome to ask me any questions about the country. I just figured we'd talk about this today. So Dennis says, I call it bandwagon thinking, although it probably doesn't involve much. No, it doesn't actually. It's interesting. So I'll jump up on the board and show you this real quick. And then I mean what I said about jumping to your questions. So I have a thing called Wisdom Pyramid. Let me see if I can find it actually, because it's better for me to show you. I'm going to draw it anyway, but it would be good for me to be able to show you the actual one. When you come to the live event, let's see, look sure I'll find it. Nope, that's not it. Yeah, all right. It's probably in here someplace. Oh, okay, this is things that opened up Photoshop. Nope, that's not it either. All right, now I'm just finger firing. All right, let me do this really quickly. If you're spamming me on Twitch, you probably should just stop, okay? You're not gonna, there's nobody there, all right? There's no one there, just go to somebody else who actually has followers. All right, so the wisdom pyramid goes like this, Dennis. This is a good comment that you just made. So I'm gonna talk about it for a second. So this is effort versus result, okay? And let me tell you the 5 levels of wisdom. Level number 1 is reaction. This is where 99% of America is right now. You see something, you react to it, right? The average American's like offended at everything, okay? So they see something like, this really offends me. That's living down in reaction, okay? Level number 2 is data. If you came to me and said, hey, Ed, my website's opting in at 13%, that's a number. It doesn't tell me much about who's coming there. It doesn't tell me much about your business. It doesn't tell me how successful you're going to be. That's data. Okay? Level number 3 is knowledge. This is actually the first level where you actually start paying people for ideas. So for example, if you have someone who can build a website for you in Kajabi, that's a person who has knowledge. You pay them to be able to implement that. If you have a person that you can say, hey, my website is converting at 13% opt-ins coming to my page, knowledge is somebody who would look at you and say, well, maybe you should move the picture over here. And if you move the picture over here, you'll probably convert better. That's knowledge right there. And like I said, this is typically the first place that you start to pay for things. Okay, now, level number 4 is actually wisdom. Wisdom is this. 2 days in a row, I had a coaching day, 2 coaching days in a row several years ago. Actually, today I've got another coaching day. So here's an example of 2 coaching days in a row. But about a couple of years ago, a client came in who works with CEOs and helps them sell their company. And he said to me, what I really want is a Facebook funnel where I can do webinars and bring people through webinars and convert them. And I said, no, you don't. What you really want is a LinkedIn funnel. And he goes, nah, we already paid like $7,000 a month for our Facebook advertiser. And I said, why don't you just give me the $7,000 and I'll save you all the pain and stress. And we went back and forth about this. And finally, I made him a bet. I said, run your Facebook ads for 3 months. If you close one person in 3 months, I'll take you out to the nicest restaurant in San Diego. I will open the menu. I will buy the nicest bottle of wine on the menu. And I'll buy you the best bottle of wine and the best dinner in San Diego. If you get one customer from your Facebook funnel. But if you don't, in 3 months, you take me to the restaurant. And he goes, all right, I finally got you. The next day, so I told him, I steered him to LinkedIn, which is where CEOs and business owners are. The next day, I had someone come in and say, hey, I really need to do LinkedIn. And I said, actually, Facebook is your place because it was a different market. Wisdom is the person who can say one strategy to one person, but the complete opposite strategy to someone else because each business is different. That's wisdom. Okay? And then at the top of the pyramid is divine wisdom. This is where you're getting direct downloads from your creator. Okay? And for those of you who are attending Big Pivot, on day 3 in the morning, we're going to do a hearing from God session. And when you get like something from God, you're at the top of the wisdom pyramid. Okay? Now, here's the interesting thing about effort versus result. Down here, you're putting in massive amounts of effort and you're experiencing extraordinarily low results. So you're putting in like 96% effort. Most of your week is being spent for this and you're getting very little result. You're getting almost nothing out. Okay, with data, you're still putting in quite a bit of effort. You're getting a little bit of a better result, but it's more like 80-20. When you flip this over, this is when it starts to switch. In knowledge, this is when you're starting to put about 20% effort in and you're getting about 80% back. It's the first time that you've put less effort to get more result. And if you feel like you've been a little stuck in business right now, part of the reason why is you're in reaction mode. You're spending more time on your email reacting to what's coming to you than you are in terms of going out and changing the world. Okay, when you flip over into wisdom though, you're putting in about 4% and you're getting about 96% out. These are folks, for example, that work with me who end up working a lot less but getting a lot more money. David Zetz is an example of this. David works hard. He puts his nose to the grindstone, but over the next 3 to 4 months, he's going to really fuel his business so that he can work less and be making more. That's where wisdom comes into play. And then divine wisdom, when you're working at this level, you're putting in like 1% effort and getting like a 99% return. Okay? And so the idea as a human being is to begin to scale up into this. So if you're watching the news a lot and you're reacting in a binary sort of kindergarten style fashion, it's time to start moving up this. And the way to do this, by the way, is to hang out with people who think independently, people who have view. Like for example, I used to be I've said this publicly. I was a lifelong conservative. I was a Republican. I grew up with a family who was business owners. I went into the military. And then right around the mid-2000s, like late 1900s, 2000s, what I started to see was the Republican Party spend way more money than the Democratic Party was. And I'm like, wait a second, I thought this was the party that like was supposed to be like fiscally conservative. And I'm like, I'm out, okay? And then I started disagreeing with some views on immigration and some other issues, and I realized I can't go with the herd anymore. Now, I still believe in fundamentally some soundly conservative principles, not all of them, and I believe in some principles that are shared on the other side as well. For example, I think the government spends too much money. I think they take too much of your money. I don't think we need to even argue that. I think it's pretty obvious that they're awful at stewarding what you give them. If I give $100,000 to a charity, they're going to do a really great work with it. If I give $100,000 to the government, it's just going to disappear, right? You know that as well as I do, whatever side you're on. But part of that is spending time with people who begin to think independently and start to try to come up with creative solutions that aren't on both sides. All right, so I'm going to come back to the main camera here, and then we're actually going to start taking your questions. But thank you for that comment. It's just a little bit of a... So Robert, I had a client who was on Donald Trump's The Apprentice, season number 1. All right, so now's a great time to ask your questions. If you have questions about anything, you're welcome to ask. If you have any thoughts on anything, you're welcome to ask. And hello, Elena. What's going on? Good to see you from Brazil. What's up, David Zetz? You watch this guy. I think I'm going to have him come up and share some stuff at Big Pivot. Dude's crushing it right now. Just building a business. I'm telling you, this guy right here, David, you will see by the end of this year how he built a business from scratch and went into 6-figure range in a year, okay, in less than a year. And you're going to watch, and it's some of the most simple stuff. It's connecting with people on a single social media, turning them into customers with a compelling offer. He's already done a bunch of market testing and everything. All right, Diana's first question, come on in. So let's do this. Again, I open to your questions today. We're going to have some fun. And again, if you have comments or thoughts on what I shared earlier today, that's great. If you agree with what I said, that's awesome. If you disagree, that's okay too, because you know what? Remember what I said, the world's complicated. So it's okay for you to have another opinion on something. It's like, some of you have seen the show. I did an interview with my friend Jabez, who's completely divergent with most of what I believe politically, and we're like great friends. And the conversations that I have with him open up new ideas in my mind about thinking about different things, and it expands my ability to think. So most people, when they meet someone who diverges politically, they're like, I don't want to talk to that person. Like, people are so afraid of their mind being changed. But if you disagree with me, that's okay. You know why? Because it may mature my ability to think about an issue too, and the complexities of those issues. One of the most important things, I'll get to your question, Diana. One of the most important things that I did to grow in my ability to process what's happening in the world was I spent time taking an issue that I believed in. So let's use small government as something I believe in, because I believe the government is, I mean, like it used to be, back when Lincoln was president, dude had like 7 cabinet members. That was about it, okay? And now the executive branch is a million plus people or something. I mean, it's like, maybe it's not a million, but it's probably about 200, 300,000. It's a lot of people in one branch of the government, like the one branch where we used to just be really small and be able to do so many amazing things, and now it's so big, and it's just bloated because you can't get toothpaste back inside of the tube, okay? So for example, I believe in a smaller, leaner form of government. And the truth is, you as a business owner are being asked to do more with less. Your government should be able to do the same thing. But some people disagree with me. And some people feel like the government needs to do more and get more involved and be able to disperse wealth and give more money to people. And so what I do is I'll sit over my chair for a few hours and I will literally pretend that I'm that person who believes the government should be big and should tax more and the rich should do their part, okay? And I sit there and I think about that long enough until I actually empathize with what that person's feeling. Now, when that happens, what you realize is there's a reason they believe what they believe, and they hold to their belief system for a particular reason, usually something that happened in their life. You know, you have a person, for example, who was just left to themselves by their parents on the street, and they were struggling to even find food. And that person's like, where was the government when I was in that spot, and why couldn't they help me? And now they grow up with a worldview that may be wrong, but it was formed from good intentions, and they want to see change. Well, all those desires are good desires. They may be in a result that's not the strongest result, but as I sit there and build some empathy, I'm like, you know what? They're actually right about some things. You know, they are right about some things. And if you can just spend a little bit of time in somebody's shoes, empathizing. So one of my friends is the single most anti-gun person I know. Okay, to put it in context, I mean, I own weapons. I'm a Marine, dude. I know how to use these things. Heaven forbid anybody ever try to get into my house, okay? I mean, I'm armed and truly dangerous. I know how to use the weapons that I own, okay? And I'm teaching my kids how to use them too. I believe in the importance of self-defense. But one of my best friends literally believes that there should not be a single gun in the United States except for the armed forces or potentially our police. He's one of my best friends. And of course we see differently on this particular issue, but when we sit down and talk about it, I can empathize with him. And you know why? Because I know his story. When my friend was one, his mom shot his dad. Now his dad actually lived through that, but he was 1 year old when that happened to him. Can you imagine how that would change your worldview about guns in the United States? It would change it forever, okay? But if you understand someone's story, you can empathize at least with their belief system. And the truth is, he's got some good points. I mean, the ability for anyone to access weaponry at almost every single time is a little bit detrimental, right? I mean, we should be smart about this. There's reasons why people who just came out of prison can't buy a gun, right? So maybe somebody who's got mental issues, there's a lot of ways that we can think about this, and he's got some good points. But if I'm hardcore over here, like I'm a Marine, you know, if I'm hardcore and I can't see it with empathy the way that his world operates, I'm never going to be able to make good decisions as a leader. Okay? Arthur. So, Arthur says, you're an amazing leader. Thank you. Would like to broadcast live to YouTube. Best software you recommend to use for I use a Mac. Oh, you use a PC. Please, not Mac. You can recommend or post in notes. My favorite piece of software, Arthur, I'm going to just type it into chat. It's edrush.com/StreamYard. That's the one I'm using right now. And this piece of software, it's in chat right now. This software that I'm using right now is web-based. So Mac, PC, the browser you use is actually important. So you're going to need to use Chrome or Safari doesn't work. I don't know what browser you use on a PC. Some sort of thing built by cavemans, probably. I'm just messing with you. All right, so Diana, I want to get back to your question. By the way, I'd love to, it's been like 40 minutes. We're almost coming on 40 minutes in the show, and I haven't even gotten off my soapbox yet. By the way, if what I said today resonated with you in any way, would you do me a favor? I almost never ask this. I've gone 20 shows without asking this. Would you mind clicking that button below that says share? When you do that, all it does is just tell a couple more people about you. And some of you are watching right now because somebody took the time, they had the heart to be able to just share something with you. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, that would be cool. All right, Diana, thank you for your patience. Diana's waited about 20 minutes to get an answer to this question. And it's my only question today so far. So usually I have tons of questions that come in, and right now I've got one. So let's do this. Diana says, how do I best send my proposal with a 6-minute video in an email? Is the email letter written like a sales letter? All right, so I'm actually, Diana, going to jump up on the board and I'm going to share with you a couple of ideas when it comes to email, and then I'm going to talk about social media too, because we covered this recently. I actually covered this recently in a coaching day. So when you're sending, like for example, if you're sending your proposal, and I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna assume that the proposal is being sent cold. Now I know that it's probably not, but let's just assume that the person who opens up your email is sending something cold. Here's what I like to do when I'm sending an email to a person, okay, especially if it's going to one person. If I send like a 15-page email with a bunch of videos and a whole bunch of links in it, here's what the average person does. They're like, who is this? They scroll through the email and they're like, oh my gosh, now I have like a homework assignment, okay? So the response rate is typically pretty low on longer emails, not because your email isn't amazing, but because the person you just dumped like a homework assignment into someone's inbox. So the way that I like to do this, and I do this actually right now on LinkedIn, I probably do this 40 times today on LinkedIn, and I won't even be doing it. It'll be at a coaching day. That's because I've got a cool system right now that I'm testing to automate LinkedIn. So I do it the same way that I would do it with social media. So for example, if you're on LinkedIn right now, you'll know that the average person on LinkedIn gets, I don't know, 10 or 15 messages a day, and those messages are like super pitchy and spammy, okay? Hi, I'd love to connect. I don't know, we have so much synergy, and here's my event, and here's my website, and here's my next thing, and I'm like, I don't want all your links. I don't even know who you are. You're sending me a whole bunch of links, okay? So typically what I will do is I will get, remember in Ultimate Speaker, Diana, when I taught you the technique called the yes before the yes? Here's what I like to do. I'd like to send them an email first, okay? So say the person in charge of the city superintendent or whoever the person that you're sending this to, let's say this guy's name is Ron, okay? I'd send a simple email. Hey Ron, hi, it's Diana. We talked about the upcoming garden project, and I'd love to send you more information, including a short video. What's the best way for me to send that to you? Email, ? Best Diana. That's it, okay? Because here's what you need to get back, all right? And this is a little psychology for you, but what you're trying to do, see, somebody is more likely to take the next step after they've taken the first step, okay? So I'm gonna show you a website where I utilize this psychological strategy, okay? It's edrush.com/freebook. Check it out. I'm gonna pull it up in a second, but before I do that, hold on, I'm gonna pull it up. Let me just show it to you really quickly. Oh, hold on, I gotta make this smaller. All right, so take a look at this website. This is the yes before the yes. Okay, check it out. See this website? Okay, watch this. See that? Click right there. That's the first step that leads to the next step. Okay, so now watch this. Hey Ron, what's the best way for me to send this to you? Email? ? Best Diana. Now, Ron goes, hey Diana, I'm familiar with your project and we're all excited to hear, yep, send it over via email. Okay, see now this is a step. It's a nice, easy step. Remember the first step should be nice and easy. So Ron all he has to do is say, oh yeah, send it via email. Boom, he takes the first step. Now, that first step now commits him to the next step, okay? So if you send the first email, boom, he's not committed. He hasn't told you he would get back to you, but all you have to do is get him to say something, the first step. By the way, you can do this on the phone, right? Hey, what's the best way to get this over to you? Email, do you want me to bring it over? What's the best way? Okay, ask, right? Phone, text, if you got text, get them to say the first yes. And then after you get that first yes, they're going to read the next thing because they just mentally committed to you to be able to do that, okay? So the next thing is when you're writing an email, specifically if it's to one person, write it like it's to one person, right? Write specifically to that person. So you don't need to do a headline. You don't need to have like any sort of sales copy per se, except that you need to speak in benefits. We talked about this too, right? You need to speak in benefits to two people. Well, number one, you need to speak in benefits to the person who you're writing to, and then you need to speak in benefits to the value of the community, okay? And as far as the video goes, best thing you can do is do a video where you're giving examples, and that I think is probably outside in your garden, showing people some of the examples of some of the things that you're gonna do, okay? Good question, all right? So, let me switch it back to the camera. Your questions, by the way, today, then we're gonna wrap it up. All right, Brad, I'm gonna get to your question in just a second. Let's see, Chrome browser, Google or Microsoft works well on PCs, good. Mike Toy got your question. Arthur says, thank you, I'm a veteran, started rifle shooting when I was 10 years old, competed in the Ohio State Junior Rifle Team. Cam Perry, dude knows how to shoot, man. I was double expert, rifle and pistol, and that's about as far as I went, so you are definitely better. And he said, guns are the problem, teaching responsibility. it's interesting. So it goes back to that conversation that we had in the beginning about kindergarten thinking. I just said to my friend, we were sitting down talking about guns. I told you the story about my friend who had his mom got shot when he was one, or dad got shot when he was one, and I said to him, I want to have this conversation with you about this. I said, would it be okay if we opened up the conversation to the way our kids are taught, the way parents lead kids, the fact that people don't go to church the way that they used to. And you know what the interesting thing is? You study, there's a great, I don't know if you can find it anymore. I linked to it a few weeks ago in my weekly flight briefing. NPR has a show called More Perfect. It's an incredible podcast, by the way. They did a show called The Gun Show Reprise, and it was all about the Second Amendment. And you know what's interesting? Up until the 60s, the Second Amendment wasn't an issue in the United States. Nobody even mentioned it. People used to walk around with shotguns and guns. Nobody cared. Nobody said anything about it. Literally, it wasn't a political issue at all, until the 60s, okay? And you know when it became an issue? This is crazy if you think about this from a political irony standpoint. The Black Panthers in Oakland used to carry weapons around because they knew that black men were being mistreated by the police. And so they actually used to bring weapons into the courtroom, and they would actually sit there. You could do this, by the way, back then. They would actually sit there in the courtroom with their weapons to show that they were representatively protecting the person who they believed was being mistreated by the authorities. So it was actually used first. The controversy started, the Second Amendment controversy actually started as a reaction to the Black Panthers protecting their people or being there to protect their people. The first reaction was actually from conservatives. How crazy is that? Okay, so now I know we have a big gun debate, okay, and everybody's taking their sides and stuff like that, but you need to know the history. Go back and read that, or listen to it's called Gun Show Reprise. If somebody can find a link, throw it into chat. Interesting. He said, my son started at age 8, and now he's 12, and totally responsible. I started teaching my kids, well, I think I started teaching them around 6 or 7 when we were hunting. But to be able to hold a firearm, my kids needed to be able to repeat the 4 rules, never point a weapon at something you don't intend to shoot, keep your finger straight and off the trigger until you intend to shoot, keep your weapon unsafe until you intend to shoot. So teaching them early is a good idea. All right, Dennis said, you mentioned posting our websites to get feedback. Is it okay to include email here and ask for feedback? Yes, although I don't know if we're gonna have time to be able to do your website today, but I don't have a problem with that. I wouldn't post your email here though, because the only reason I wouldn't post your email on the show is you have spam bots that troll the internet, and they're gonna scrape your email and start spamming you. You may be already getting spam. Yep. And by the way, I'm not a hardcore, anyway, you get the point. All right, so I'm gonna go back to, I got 3 questions, and then we're gonna wrap it up with some, start putting in your Focus Friday stuff, even though it's Thursday. What are you gonna do over the next 7 days to make the world better? All right, Brad says, what would be the best way to get speakers or guest speakers for an event? So Brad, make a hit list of the people that you want, all right? And there's 2 ways to get speakers. Number 1, is to go and find speakers who you can pay to bring in. Those are speakers that I call shamu, okay? So if I'm paying someone to come into my event, which I don't do that all that often, but sometimes I bring someone in that I pay them a little bit, they should have a name or a connection to a name that is important or influential enough to bring people in. Let me give you an example. At one of my events, probably like 8 years ago, I had someone at my event whose name was Christy Frank. Some of you have heard in my bio that I used to coach a person who was on season number 1 of Donald Trump's The Apprentice. That was Christy, okay? Now, Christy herself is not a known national person, but The Apprentice at the time, this was about 8 years ago, The Apprentice was huge. So when I said, our guest is one of the stars from season number 1 of Donald Trump's The Apprentice, people were like, whoa, not because of her, but because of the connection. So sometimes you can get inexpensive celebrities that are connected to something bigger, okay? Like, for example, you could get somebody who is like the backup guard for the Seattle, Seahawks, and connect it to an NFL thing, even though the person's not like big time player. Okay. Second way is to go get people like me who would come to an event because of the opportunity to connect with your market. So, for example, if you have 100 people at your event and they're entrepreneurs, I'm going to come in and sell something, offer like one of my courses or one of my products, and then you and I are going to do a split on that. So you make revenue, I make revenue, but I also get to build my following, and you get to use my name when you promote my event. And that's I think the best way to do it. So, for example, like Jonathan Sprinkle's coming to speak at my event because I love Jonathan and his content's great, but he was also promoting this event to his list. And I was promoting his event. We've got some cross-promotion stuff going on. So those are the two ways. One, you're going to pay somebody a little bit to come in, use them for name value. Number two, get somebody who can come in and offer products. And they're going to come in if you have real people. If you have like 5 people, don't say you have 100 people coming, because I've been to those events. But at the same time, if you can put people in an event, speakers who are looking to build their brand would come. Mike says, when you were a kid, what kind of career or job did you hope for? So I actually wanted to be a pilot when I was growing up. My step-grandfather took me flying when I was age 11 in a twin Cessna double Eagle, and it blew my mind, being able to fly and land the airplane. And then, Mike, when Top Gun came out, I thought, oh man, not everybody's going to want to be a pilot. I actually gave up. When Top Gun came out, I actually gave up on that dream for a little while, which is kind of crazy. Mentality stuff, right? I thought, I guess I'm not good enough. And everyone else is going to want to do this. But then I eventually flew. In the middle of that, there were 2 other things I wanted to do. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a doctor. Thank God I didn't do that. Not because it wouldn't have been a great career. Doctors are amazing, but that's not my personality, okay? The second thing, Mike, and this is really the direction that I was going to go. If I didn't end up in the military, I would have ended up as a baseball coach. I knew Joe Madden, the Angels manager, used to be the Cubs manager pretty well. I was going to go into the Angels organization. That was at least my goal, to be a coach and eventually be a major league coach. I'm glad I chose the direction I went. What's up, Ron? All right. Let's see. My dad turned 95. Marine WW2 veteran, expert marksman, taught me well. Thank you, Diana. All right, so let's get to the last question, and then I'm going to hit your Focus Friday stuff, and then we're going to wrap it up. That's it, right? By the way, always assume your gun is loaded, even if you don't think it is. You always tell people to assume that it's loaded, to assume that it's armed. You never get in trouble if you assume that it's open and you never point it at something that you don't want to shoot and that you take it off safe. Just very simple stuff. Hey, you're... Oh, Canada. By the way, for those of you who don't know the context of why I was laughing, we did Ultimate Speaker a month ago. We sent those manuals like 5 weeks ago. And Denise is up north of the border, and she just got hers. That's so awesome. I was a catcher. I was a catcher in baseball. By the way, if you just joined us, my name's Ed Rush. I can't believe that thing showed up. Oh, gosh. I would say sorry if it was our fault, but something about the Mounties had to like ride it on their horse, knock on your door. Hello, ma'am. We've been riding this for the last Pony Express. I'm just kidding. I'm just having fun now. Ron says, stuck now that I have a book done. My next step is to do live talks at colleges with all that's going on. How would you monetize it? So there's a whole bunch of different organizations that bring in speakers for colleges, but they're not going to be booking right now. But you could always reach out to some of the schools that are doing summer classes virtually and seeing if they want you to do a career talk over Zoom. And there are career counselors at colleges that are still working, okay? So you may want to hit like University of Phoenix, some of the courses that are ones that are doing online, see if they want you to do an online training about that. And I think that you could be successful at doing that. The other way, Ron, is to go off and start building your social media presence and teaching some of this stuff. For example, on Instagram would be a good place for you to start doing that. Start throwing some clips up there, maybe target a little bit of ads and start getting a few followers there would be great too. All right, so let's jump into Focus Friday stuff. Man, today went fast. Again, I know I went like a little political, but it wasn't even political. It was just, we were just talking about our country, man. Just a way to think. Share that post, by the way, that Facebook post. If you get across it, I'm gonna hit it and share it on my page right when we get off the show. Let's see. Hey, Brad, no problem, buddy. Diana said, "Focus is my email proposal this Monday. I'm doing my first new." Yeah. Hey, congratulations. That is so cool. Dennis is gonna finish his new book. Ooh. Ooh, I haven't seen that title, dude. Flight Plan, Peak Performance in Turbulent Times. That's a good title, man. Really good title. Gosh, I feel like I want to take some credit for it, but I can't. I like it, dude. Really good. Canadian Post is so fast. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes. Well, by the way, I had about 8 years ago, I had a client, two clients. They were together, who were on Animal Planet. They were called. They trained. They trained Alaskan dog sled teams. The dogs. Amazing people. They were my clients for years. Really, really interesting people. And one of the women, she was probably 5'1". She was called the Littlest Musher, and man, she was a powerful person, 5 feet tall. They called her Alaska's Littlest Musher, and she had completed, I think at the time, 2 Iditarods. Super interesting. Hey, what's up, Anita? She says, plan and host a virtual ladies game night to have fun, provide value, connect with community, and get ready to do pre-work for Big Pivot. I love it. Awesome. My plan for next week is to follow up on what you mentioned. Get ready for your program. Yeah, it is really a great title. By the way, if you haven't registered, Big Pivot is next week. We got just a couple days. Tomorrow I'm finishing up all the content. There's a whole bunch of new stuff, by the way. It's going to be so great. Wait till you see Jonathan Sprinkles and Marquetta and what they've got prepared for you. I could just set them up and do their thing and not even show up, and it would be an incredible event, but I'm going to show up. So if you haven't had a chance to register for that, I can't remember if the coupon code went away. I think it expires tomorrow. I opened up another window for the people who came to me from Jonathan's webcast. So I'm pretty sure the coupon code discount still works, but that's going to go away. So if you haven't registered for the event, you get $100 off. I'll send you your journal in the mail. You get full access. You get the recordings. Usually I sell the recordings, but because of the way the digital stuff's going on. And by the way, you all have been helping me with this. The next event's probably going to be in August timeframe. And I'm looking at doing either an author event or a consulting event. The consulting event so far is polling highest, actually by about 2 to 1. But I might end up doing both. If I do both, I'd probably do the consultant event next. So for those of you who are familiar with this, I'm going to be relaunching a brand that I had a long, long time ago. But the consulting event is designed to show you how to get paid like fast. I'm talking about like almost right away in the training, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. I have a testimonial from a guy who closed a $60,000 deal before the training. He actually watched the webinar that sold the training, and he did one of the strategies on the webinar and closed a $60,000 deal and then used it to sign up for the course. Okay. I've done 4 iterations now of consulting courses. This will be my 5th, and it's going to be very powerful. I'm going to be showing you how to close deals like literally in the training. It's going to be awesome. All right. A couple more comments, and then we'll wrap it up. Barry, what's up, dude? Thanks, buddy. Continue to build my Kajabi program. Very good. Very good. BigPivotEvent.com. Coupon code discount. Very, very good. I can neither confirm nor deny. Oh man, there's a guy who's been around a little bit. So my first consulting course was called Top Gun Consulting Toolkit. Second was our certification program, Author Expert Marketing Certification. Actually, other way around. Author Expert Marketing Certification Program, Top Gun Consulting Toolkit, Consultant Profit. None of those are available now. Then the Strategic Advisor, which is actually available on my website, which is Advisor Course. And then we're going to do one this summer that's Yes. Mike, I am actually thinking about potentially doing the consulting course 100% online. Last time we did Ultimate Speaker, it actually worked out great. A couple hours a day for a couple weeks, and I'm thinking about doing that. I'm not sure. I may do it live and stream it, but I'd love your feedback on that and what you think. I know. Crack me up, dude. I can neither confirm nor deny it. Yes. What's up, Robert? Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Thank you, Denise, for your great comments. Today was fun, man. All right, so don't forget, tomorrow, Marquetta Breslin's in the house, how to grow, engage, and inspire on social media. We're going to be leading into some of the things that we're going to be teaching next week on the Big Pivot. If you're not registered for that, boom, website's below. Come join us tomorrow. Come say hello. Good. Do that. Do what you just said, Denise. I think that would be awesome. Man, look, I'm going to go back to what I said in the beginning. You as an emotionally mature person have a responsibility to change the world. And you're not going to change it by watching the news and binary kindergarten thinking. You're going to do it by thinking like a human being with compassion, with empathy, and with action. And we're going to be talking more about that in the upcoming weeks. In the meantime, I love you and I like you, and Ed Talks Live is out.